good morning, good afternoon, good evening for some members. We're really excited to have our next Social Gastronomy in Practice session. And we have two very special guests, both social gastronomy chefs, one from Romania, Chef Adi, and one from Turkey, Chef Ebru. Not only will they tell us a little bit more on how social gastronomy looks like on a day-to-day for them in their countries. However, today's focus is on emergency response, something that is on the rise in the world, human-made or nature-made. And so it's really important for us to have this session where we can dig a little bit deeper in the systems and the processes that they applied while emergency hit their country or their neighboring countries. So I'm extremely excited to go deeper on their models and share with everyone what social gastronomy looks like on a local level. With no further ado, welcome Chef Adi, welcome Chef Ebru. To kick us off, Ebru and Adi, I have a question that we ask everyone that's joining us in Social Gastronomy in Practice, which is, what does social gastronomy mean to you? So Ebru, I'm gonna hand you the mic first. You were in the room first, and then we'll pass to Adi afterward. Just very briefly, what it means to you.
Yes, thank you. Benim için aslında sosyal gastronomi tamamen yaşadığım yerde aldığım reaksiyonla alakalı.
So for me, social gastronomy is totally about the place I live and the reaction I get.
Ben Mardin'de, Türkiye'nin güneydoğusunda, Suriye sınırına sadece 33 kilometre uzaklıkta yaşıyorum.
I live in Mardin, which is on the Syrian border.
Ve yaşadığım yerde insanlar 1980 ve 1999 yılları arasında terörle mücadele ettiler.
And in the place I live, people have combated against terrorism between 1980s and 1999.
Ben Mardinliyim aslında. Burada doğdum.
I'm from Mardin. I was born there.
Fakat okumak için babam ve benim iki kız kardeşimle birlikte bizi İstanbul'a götürmüş.
But for our education, my father took me and my sister to Istanbul.
Ben üniversiteden sonra Mardin'e dönme kararı aldım.
After university, I decided to go back to Mardin.
Ve döndüğüm zamanki geldiğim yerde insanlar en büyük sorunu göç ve işsizlikti.
And once I returned, I saw that people's biggest problem was immigration and unemployment.
Terör birçok şeyi yıkmıştı.
Terror had wrecked a lot of things.
Ama yaşadığım yerin çok özel bir yer ve birçok etnisiteden insanlar burada yaşamış ve yaşam burada başlamıştı. Mezopotamya'da yaşıyordum ben.
The place I come from is very special. There's a lot of different ethnicities, and it's where life started. It's Mesopotamia.
Burada turizm aslında kaçınılmazdı ve insanlar gerçekten turizmden para kazanabilirlerdi.
Tourism is a backbone here, and people really earn money from tourism.
Fakat bunu insanlara anlatmak gerekiyordu.
But people needed to be told about this.
Bu çok kolay değildi aslında.
And this wasn't very easy.
Ve ben turizm okudum.
And I've studied tourism.
Burada yapabileceğim en iyi iş turizmdi.
And the best work I could do there was tourism.
Bir gün gezdirdiğim bir Alman turist grubu şehrin tek restoranındaki yemekleri beğenmeyince grubu alıp eve götürdüm.
One time when I was showing around a group of German tourists and they didn't like the food at a local restaurant, I took them back to my house.
Ve bana evimin kadınları ve mahallenin kadınları yemek yaptılar misafirlerim için.
And for my guests, me and local women have cooked dishes.
Ve ben sonra o kadınlarla yemek yapmaya devam etme kararı aldım.
And then I decided to continue cooking with those local women.
Ben bir değişime inanmıştım.
I had believed in change.
Şimdi başkalarını o değişime inandırmam gerekiyordu.
And now I needed to make others believe in that change.
Ben burada yemek benim için çok önemliydi çünkü insanların bildiği en iyi işi ekonomiye çevirmiştim ve onların ihtiyacını karşılamıştım.
What I did here was turn food, what I know best, into an economy and teach people about this.
Ve buradan başladık.
And this is where we started.
Ve 1999 yılı.
And in year 1999.
Bu rakamlar benim için çok anlamlı. Hayatımın sonraki döneminde de hep söylediğim ve yaptığım işin büyüklüğünü göstermek için kullandığım rakamlar.
These numbers are very important for me because they show how far I came in life.
Aslında Mardin tarım ve hayvancılıkla geçiniyordu.
Mardin usually gets by through agriculture and animal work.
Biliyorsunuz Orta Doğu'ya çok yakın olduğumuz için sınır kapısı ticaretti.
You know, as we're very close to the Middle East, the border meant trade.
Fakat işler her zaman yolunda gitmiyordu burası için de. Çünkü Orta Doğu sürekli kapı kapanıyor ve ticaret gerçekten düzgün gitmiyordu.
But because the border would shut off and on, the trade wouldn't work properly.
Ama yapılacak bence bir şeyler vardı. İşte bu noktada.
But there were things to do every now and then, and at this point,
bu rakamlar benim için çok önemli.
These numbers are very meaningful to me.
1999 yılında Mardin'e gelen turist sayısı 11 binmiş.
In 1999, the number of tourists that came to Mardin were 11,000.
Yatak kapasitesi 220.
And the capacity for beds were 220.
Ve ben o kadınlarla bir restoran açtım.
Now I've opened a restaurant with those local women.
Herkes önce çok inanmakta çok zorlandı ve bir kadın 23 yaşındaydım o zaman, bir kadın, başka kadınlar mutfakta dışarıda çalışıyorlardı. İçkili bir restoran işletiyorlardı. Bunlar çok dinamiklerin o zamanki sosyal yapının kaldırabileceği bir durum değildi.
At first, people had a hard time believing me. I was 23 and our business, because there were, drinking or other things in the restaurant, it wasn't something that everyone believed in at first.
Fakat zaman içerisinde insanlar yaptıklarımı gördüler.
But over time, people saw what I accomplished.
Benimle birlikte o değişime onlar da inandılar.
And they believed in that change with me.
Ve şehrin turizmine kendileri yatırım yaptılar.
And they decided to invest in the city's tourism themselves.
Hala 30 kilometre ötemizde.
Still 30 kilometers afar from us.
Savaşın olduğu bir yerde dışarıdan kimse gelip yatırım yapmadı.
In where there is a war going on, no one came and did an investment.
Her şey orada yaşayan insanlar tarafından yapıldı.
Everything was done by the people who live there.
Bir kadın
A woman.
Ve ona inanan 21 kadının
And 21 other women who believed in her.
Cesaretinden cesaret alan Mardinliler.
Mardin people who got courage through their courage.
Şehrin turizmine yatırım yaptılar.
Invested in the city's tourism.
Bugün Mardin'e 2 milyon turist geziyor.
Today, 2 million tourists visit Mardin.
Ve yatak kapasitesi 20 bin.
And the bed capacity is 20,000.
Benim için burada yemek işte gerçekten.
And here for me, food.
Gastronomi benim için sosyal değişim için bir araç olmuştu.
Food and gastronomy has become a tool for
social change. Yes.
Social change.
Wow, thank you so much, Ebru. That is true social gastronomy in practice. And I always love your story of courage and just leading by example. There are many more nuances to your story, but hopefully we'll hear a little bit more about in a bit. Let me pass on to Adi. Chef Adi, so can you just, the same thing, answer what is social gastronomy to you and tell us a little bit about your journey and your work on a day-to-day basis? And afterward, we're handing over to Nusumwa to take us into the emergency response element of this session.
Hello everyone. Thank you for this opportunity. So to me, social gastronomy is such a huge concept. It's like a big tree with a huge crown and so many branches and ramifications. It's going to be hard to give you a complete assessment of what I think it's social gastronomy, but to put it shortly, social gastronomy to me represents, let's say, a good moment in time where we as chefs and as food producers have the chance, the opportunity to acknowledge and to accept responsibility, a certain responsibility towards or concerning our object, the things we do, and concerning also the subject, meaning the people we address to. This is, put in shortly, social gastronomy. This is the importance of social gastronomy, acknowledging and accepting responsibility. If you are committed to work in such a field, let's say, you should be also committed to the people you are addressing your work, because, okay, everybody does, especially if you feel like, at least a bit like an artist, you do your work for yourself especially, but also there is some recipient to this work, meaning the public, the people that it's consuming your work. And having this in mind all the time, it helps me, especially because, okay, I'm talking about me and about my work. It helps me, let's say, keeping myself focused and keeping myself balanced and keeping myself close and with the attention to the product and to the people that are consuming the final product. I mean, product plus my work. And now, to tell you a little bit about my involvement, or what I think I'm working as a social gastronomer. I have to tell you that even before hearing about this concept of social gastronomy, meaning 13, 14 years ago, we started a small project in the main city of Transylvania, Cluj-Napoca, a project that should have deliver a chance to better food, to healthier food in the state kindergartens. State kindergartens that are operating in a really low budget. They were operating then in a low budget. Now they are operating in a little higher budget, but still small. And we were working for 53, 54 kindergartens in this beautiful city of Transylvania, working with the kitchen staff, working with the kids, working with the educators, working with the kids' parents also, in order to understand together how we can feed better the kids in order to be healthier, and also in order to keep this effort in a sustainable and affordable capacity. And doing this project for 3 years, we understood that it's not going to work if we go door to door. If we go one kindergarten after the other, and getting it from zero, from scratch every time. And our goal became more clear, let's say. And the scope was, okay, how can we deliver better food to children? How can we deliver better food to students? How can we deliver better food to people that are in hospitals and so on, and other places operated by the state or privately, it doesn't matter. The answer was only one. We have to teach cooks how to be better cooks. We have to teach people how to get more involved with the food and so on. And our project grew in our minds and in our hearts. And the project itself is building centers all around the country where these people that are working in kindergartens, kitchens, hospital kitchens, school kitchens, and so on, be able to come and be trained, and in this way to multiply and to spread the information. At some point, we started small with cooking school. And in this cooking school, we started with 60 students, young people that we selected from, let's say, less fortunate environments with less possibility, less money. And we put these kids in university. We managed to convince 2 universities to get these kids and to hold them there for 1 year, to teach them about food, about gastronomy, about hygiene, about food chemistry, and so on. And in the same time, these kids were sent to practice cooking in some restaurants that we knew and we trusted. And this is how we started to do it. And shortly after, the pandemic intervened, and with the pandemic we had to adjust our road a little bit. The scope remained the same, but we just had to adjust the road. And we started to feed doctors and medical staff in COVID hospitals, and we started to make food and deliver food to people isolated in homes and with the impossibility of leaving home and so on. And this was made possible through donations, through sponsorships and things like this. We started with 200 portions per day, and shortly we were at 7,000 portions per day and so on. And in this interval, we started also training cooks, new cooks, training them in order to work better in the kitchen, to better understand the food, to better understand the ingredient, to better understand the concept of pricing and so on. And basically, this is what we do, what we are doing ever since. As let's say, it started as a side work, but now we're just turning into a bigger and bigger organization. We have many colleagues now that are working together with us. We have a lot of supporters and many good sponsors here in Romania that are helping us to create and to develop this concept. So this is, let's say, our involvement in the social part of the gastronomy. In one hand, we are trying to feed as many people in need every day. And this is a thing that happens in Bucharest and several other countries in Romania already. And slowly, we are expanding to the whole country. But on the other hand, we want to extract people from these environments, teach them how to cook for themselves, how to cook for others, how to better work in social canteens, and just to spread the love one plate at a time.
Wow, I love that last line. I mean, I love everything, but that just like hit home for me, to spread the love one plate at a time. And that's very true when it comes to, social gastronomy. And I really appreciate both your journeys, Chef Ibru and Chef Adi. And, I think the one thing that really hit for me is that we're all talking about, or you're both talking about social gastronomy, but it's very interesting to see the different ways that it appears. On the one hand, Ibru was talking about how she started with the 21 women, and Chef Adi brings in how, they started with serving the children and how it evolves, but the concept always remains the same. So thank you very much for sharing your unique journeys with us. So now we get to the emergency part. We're going to be very specific with our questions now, as is the session, where we're really looking at the emergency response aspect of social gastronomy. So, Chef Ibru, what is it that made you act in the face of an emergency in your country or in a neighboring country? What is that force, or what drove you to, to decide to travel to the different zones and just make sure that people are receiving hot meals? What drove you in the face of emergency to act?
Sizi harekete geçiren, size dokunan neydi?
Evet. Biliyorsunuz Türkiye 6 Şubat'ta 11 şehri etkileyen çok büyük bir deprem yaşadı.
As you know, on February 6th, Turkey experienced an earthquake that hit 11 cities in a really big way.
Bence sayısı şu anda verilen resmi rakamlardan çok daha fazla insan öldü.
I believe that more people than the officially declared amounts have passed away.
Böyle bir durumda bir şeyler kayıtsız kalmak mümkün değil. Bir şeyler yapmak zorunda hissediyorsunuz.
In a case like this, it's impossible to not be involved. You just want to do something about it.
Bu benim için yeni bir durum değil. Zaten yaşadığım yerde her gün bir olay ve sıkıntı olduğu için sürekli insanların hayatını etkileyen işler yapıyorum.
This is nothing new for me because where I live, there's something new every day. So I get involved in things that affect others' lives every day.
Depremin olduğu gün ben İstanbul'daydım ama benim ailem, çocuklarım depremi yaşadılar.
The day that the earthquake hit, I was in Istanbul, but my family and my kids, they experienced the earthquake.
Önce çok tedirgin oldum ve eve dönmenin yolunu aradım önce.
At first, I was very uneasy and wary, and I looked for ways to go back home.
Fakat uçak bileti bulamadım.
But I couldn't find a plane ticket.
Ama daha önce yapmış olduğum birçok projeden dolayı deprem bölgesinden bir belediye başkanı bana durumun çok kötü olduğunu ve bana ihtiyacı olduğunu söylemek için aradı.
Municipality president called me to tell me that the earthquake zone was really bad and there were some things that needed to be done.
Ve deprem bölgesine olan tek uçak bileti vardı, onu da ben aldım.
And there was only one flight ticket to the earthquake zone and I got it.
Ve Adana'ya gittim ve orada bir arkadaşımla buluştum.
And I went to Adana and I met up with a friend there.
Hızlı hareket etmem gerekiyordu.
I had to move fast.
Hava çok soğuktu.
It was really cold.
İnsanların evleri yıkılmıştı.
People's homes were torn.
Hayatta kalanların hepsi sokaktaydı.
And those who remained alive were all on the streets.
Maalesef devlet hızlı bir şekilde deprem bölgesine ulaşamadı.
Unfortunately, the government couldn't get to the earthquake zone fast enough.
Çünkü alan çok büyüktü. Herkes şaşkındı.
Because it was a massive zone and everyone was in shock.
Herkes nereden başlayacağını bilmiyordu.
Nobody knew where to start.
Anlatmak çok zor.
It's really difficult to explain.
Bir şeyler yapmam lazımdı.
But I just had to do something.
Aklıma devletle olan işbirliğimle birlikte bu öğrenci yurtlarını ayakta kalan öğrenci yurtları geldi.
I thought of my cooperation with the government and the dorms that were withstanding here in the zone.
Sokakta yemek yapmak bir çözümdü ama kalıcı değil, bu sürdürülebilir değildi.
Cooking out on the street was a solution, but it wasn't a sustainable solution.
İnsanlar ayakkabılarını, elbiselerini, her şeylerini, hayatlarını bıraktılar enkazların altında.
Under the rubble, people left their shoes, their lives, their everything.
Bu durumu anlatmak çok zor. O tekrar yaşamak da çok zor.
It's really difficult to tell about this and relive the experience.
Bana olumlu bir cevap geldi. Evet, öğrenci yurtlarındaki yemekhaneler şu anda kullanılmıyor ve bunları kullanabilirsiniz dediler.
So I got a positive response and they told me that the dorms could be used by us.
Burada biraz soğukkanlı olmak gerekiyor sanırım. Bir şeyleri eğer birilerinin zor durumdayken sizin soğukkanlı olmanız ve çözüm üretmeniz gerekiyor.
In these cases, you need to be a bit cool-headed and you need to be providing solutions.
Ve ilk gece oraya girdim. Alışverişimi, her şeyimi orada Adana'da, çünkü Adana depremden çok etkilenmemişti. Hala alışveriş merkezleri açıktı.
The first day in Adana, I did all my shopping there because Adana wasn't impacted as much by the earthquake and I could go to a mall there.
Adana'ya 1 saat uzaklıktaki bir öğrenci yurduna, Osmaniye'ye gittim. Aldığım malzemelerle.
I went to Osmaniye, which is an hour away from Adana, and went to a dorm there with all the supplies I bought.
Ve çorba yapmaya başladım.
And I started to cook soups.
İlk gece sabaha kadar 25.000 kişi için çorba pişirdim.
First day and first night, I cooked for 25,000 people.
Yanımda 4 veya 5 tane depremden etkilenmiş insan vardı. Onlar bize yardım ettiler.
There were 4 or 5 others who had experienced the earthquake and they stayed and they helped us.
Sabah olduğunda
In the
yemek
morning,
hazırdı, çorba hazırdı.
the food and the soup was ready.
Nereye göndereceğim konusunda zorluk yaşamadım.
It wasn't difficult to find where I could send the food.
Küçük yerlerde insanlar bu gibi şeyleri çok hızlı duyuyorlar ve yavaş yavaş benim olduğum yere gelmeye başladılar.
In small places, the word gets around and people hear about this, and these people started gathering around where I was.
Ve yemekleri dağıtmaya başladık.
And we started distributing the food.
Bir sistem kurduk çok hızlı bir şekilde. Yemek nasıl pişirilecek, kim bulaşık yıkayacak, kim dağıtacak diye bir sistem kurduk.
We built a system really fast on who does the dishes, who delivers the food, etc.
Sabah ve öğlenleyin ikinci menüyü verdiğimiz zaman bir sürü insan oraya gelmişti. 1500'e yakın insan oradaydı.
When we delivered the second menu, people around 1,500 people were already there.
Bu sefer orada yemek yedikten sonra dışarıya yemek göndermek için insanlar yemekleri paketlemeye başladılar.
And once this happened, people started picking up the food to be able to sit outside.
Biz 2 kişi başlamıştık bu işe arkadaşımla.
We started this project, 2 people with my friends.
Ve bizim olduğumuz yere başka şefler gelmeye başladı.
And other chefs started arriving to the region we were at.
Bu işi zaten 1 kişi, 2 kişi yönetebilirdi. Çok fazla insana ihtiyaç yoktu yönetmek için. O yüzden bizim başka bir yere gitmemiz gerektiğini düşündük.
1 or 2 people could lead this project, so they didn't really need us, so we figured we'd go elsewhere.
Arkamızda bir ekip bıraktık.
We left a
Her
team
şeyi
behind
organize
us.
ettik.
We organized everything.
Ve yola Maraş'a, depremin merkezine gittik.
And we headed to Maraş, which was the epicenter of the earthquake.
Burada şunu çok iyi anlamak lazım. Yardımın bunu sürdürülebilir olmanın yolunu aramak lazım. Çünkü
Here, you need to really understand a way to make this help sustainable.
hayatımı hep ben planlayarak giderim. Yani burada şu anda yaptığım işin 5 adım sonrasını düşünmek zorunda olduğumu hissederim.
I always go about life planning it, and I always think about 5 steps ahead.
Burada da aynı şeyi yaptım.
And I did the same thing here.
Daha önceki tecrübelerimde aslında birçok projede çalıştım, kooperatif kurdum, birçok proje yaptım.
In my previous works, I've done a lot of different projects. I've built a cooperative.
Kooperatif burada benim için gerçekten çok önemli bir yol haritası çizdi bana.
The cooperative has really given me an important roadmap here.
Yasal olarak para toplayamıyoruz.
We cannot gather money legally
Çünkü bunu yapan kuruluşlar var ve devletin kendi kuruluşları yapabiliyor.
because there are organizations that already do this, and branches of the government can do this.
11 şehir olunca birçok şef benim gibi sahaya indi.
When it was 11 cities, a lot of chefs went down to the cities like me.
Bu sadece benim için değil, aynı zamanda o şefler için de geçerliydi.
This didn't apply just for me, but also for those other chefs.
Kısaca bu işi devam ettirmemiz için paraya ve malzemeye ihtiyacımız vardı.
In short, we needed money and supplies to continue this kind of work.
Mardin merkezli kooperatifin başkanını aradım ve dedim ki şu anda yapılan bütün çiftçilerin satışlarını durduruyorsunuz.
I called the cooperative president back in Mardin, and I said, "You're stopping all the sales of the farmers here."
Ve bir alışveriş yaptığımız yemeklere göre ortak bir menü hazırladık.
And we prepared a common menu according to the foods we had.
11 şehirdeki diğer şefler için de.
Also for the other chefs who live in other cities.
Burada kullandığımız malzemelerin listesini çıkarttık.
We made a list of the materials we used here.
Ve ondan sonra o listeleri satışa koyduk.
And then we put those lists up for sale.
Mesela bana 25 kilo pirinç almak isteyen olabilir. Benim mutfağıma göndermek isteyebilir ya da 50 kilo mercimek almak isteyen olabilir diye biz sadece ürün satmaya ürünleri satışa koyduk.
So we put products up for sale in case people wanted to send 25 kilos of rice or 50 kilos or lentils,
Gibi bir sürü iş.
etc.
Ve ondan sonra insanlar bizim sosyal medyayı iyi kullandık.
We also use social media really wisely
Çünkü insanların Türkiye'nin diğer kısmındaki insanlar çaresiz bir şekilde yardım etmeye çalışıyorlardı.
because people on the other side of Turkey were trying to help, but
Biz,
helplessly.
biz onlar için bir kanal oluşturduk.
So we provided a channel for them.
Ve satışlar başladı.
And so the sales began.
Bizim yapmış olduğumuz yemeklerin malzemelerini bize insanlar aldılar. Ama nasıl yaptık? Deprem 11 şehirde olmuştu ve biz onun etrafındaki diğer şehirlerde tedarikçiler bulduk.
And people started providing the food supplies we asked them, and how we did that was from suppliers around these 11 cities.
4 tedarikçi, bu şehirlere yakın 4 tedarikçi, bize malzemeyi daha hızlı bir şekilde getirebilecek 4 tedarikçi.
And these were 4 suppliers who could bring us materials in a fast way.
Ve siparişleri biz aldıkça her şef kendi ihtiyacını yazdı ve biz ona zaten parası ödenmiş olan malzemeyi onlara en yakın tedarikçi aracılığıyla ulaştırmaya başladık.
And as we got the order, the chefs told us what they needed. The chefs told us what they needed, and we started delivering those.
6 mutfak kuruldu aynı günde.
On the same day, 6 kitchens were built.
Ben Maraş'taydım ve Maraş'ta 100.000 kişilik mutfağımı açtım.
I was in Maraş, and I opened a kitchen for 100,000 people there.
Daha önce kurduğum Osmaniye devam ediyordu.
The one I built in Osmania carried on,
Ve diğerleri açılmaya devam etti.
and others carried on being opened.
Mardin'de sosyal kooperatif, Mardin'de kurduğumuz sosyal kooperatif.
And the social cooperative we built in Mardin,
Aslında bu işin sürdürülebilir olması için malzeme ve finansman desteğini bu şekilde devam ettirdi.
actually it provided the materials and the financial supports we needed to sustain this project.
100.000 kişilik mutfağımı kurduktan sonra 2 gün içerisinde başka şefler yanıma geldiler.
After building this kitchen for 100,000 people, other chefs started arriving.
Orada her şey yoluna oturdu, her şey yoluna girmişti ve benim başka bir mutfağa gitmem gerekiyordu.
And everything was already working there, and I needed to move to another kitchen.
Ve 9 Şubat'ta Antakya'da Hatay'a geldim.
And on February 9th, I arrived in Antakya in Hatay.
Burası depremden en çok etkilenen yerdi.
This was the place that got affected worst by the earthquake.
Burada deprem olmamıştı.
It wasn't an earthquake here.
Burada atom bombası patlamıştı.
It was an atomic bomb that exploded here.
Çok soğuktu hava
It was really cold,
ve burada daha hızlı hareket etmemiz gerekiyordu.
and we needed to move even faster here.
Ve 10 Şubat'ta mutfak yemek vermeye başladı.
And on February 10th, the kitchen started giving out food.
Bütün gece yemek yaptık.
We cooked all night.
Ve sadece depremzedelere değil, arama kurtarma ekiplerine,
And not only for the victims of the earthquake, but also the rescue operations,
askerlere,
the
polislere,
soldiers, the police,
sağlık çalışanlarına
health workers,
yemek ulaştırmaya başladı.
all received food.
Ve yardımlar gelmeye devam ediyordu.
And help kept coming.
Ve büyük bir operasyona başlamıştık.
And we had already begun a massive operation.
Biz günde 70.000 kişiye yemek yapmaya başladık.
We started cooking for 70,000 people a day.
Sonra gönüllüler gelmeye başladı.
Volunteers started arriving.
3.000'den fazla gönüllü geldi.
Over 3,000 volunteers have come by.
Çok büyük bir sistemdi.
It was a
Herkesin
massive
ihtiyacı
system.
karşılanıyordu. Sudan, yemeğe, sıcak yemeğe, hijyene ve diğer ihtiyaçlara kadar gelen her şeyi sınıflandırarak ihtiyaç sahiplerine hızlı bir şekilde ulaştırmaya başladık.
We categorized people's needs. It could be water, warm food, hygiene, and we started delivering those to people who needed it.
Ben 38 gün boyunca hiç dışarı çıkmadım.
I never went outside for 38 days.
38 gün sonra çıktığımda çok büyük bir yıkımın ortasında olduğumu, aslında yapmış olduğumuz işin ne kadar büyük olduğunu gördüm.
After 38 days and I went out, I saw that the destruction was massive and how the work we were doing was really important.
Gönüllüler çalışıyordu
The volunteers were at work,
ve gelen bağışlar yemek olarak, malzeme olarak geliyordu ve biz bunları çok iyi yönetiyorduk.
and the donation arrived as food, and we managed these really well.
Devlet bizden destek istedi
The government actually asked us for help,
ve biz devletle çalışmaya başladık.
and we started working with the government.
Devletin bütün ihtiyacını biz karşılıyorduk.
We started providing what the government needed.
Diğer mutfaklar, biz bu işi yaparken diğer mutfaklar yine aynı işlerini yapıyordu, fakat İskenderun başka bir yerde, başka büyük bir yer oldu.
As we were doing these, other kitchens kept doing their food, but Iskenderun was different. It was bigger.
Hala devam ediyoruz.
And we're still going on.
Hala gönüllüler çalışmaya devam ediyor.
The volunteers are still working here.
Burası bir öğrenci 1500 kişilik bir öğrenci yemekhanesiydi.
This was a food cafeteria for 1,500
Şimdi
students.
70.000 kişiye günde yemek yapan bir aşevi haline geldi.
Now it's become a soup kitchen that provides food for 70,000 people a day.
İnsanlar yerde yan yana yatıyorlar.
People sleep on the floor next to each other.
Hala.
Still.
Ve gelen insanlar hepsi öğrenciler geldi, beyaz yakalı insanlar. Sosyal hayattaki bütün kimliklerini bırakarak buraya geldiler.
And people who arrived here, they could be students, they could be white collar workers, they left their social identity behind and they all arrived here.
Herkes bizi biliyor, bizden yardım istiyor, devlete gitmiyor. Burada herkesin işi çözülüyor çünkü.
Everyone knows us and they come to us. They don't necessarily go to the government because they know their problems will be solved here.
Soğukkanlı olmak gerekiyor.
You needed to be cool-headed.
38 gün dışarıya çıkmadığım için belki bu soğukkanlılığımı korudum.
Maybe because I didn't go out for 38 days, I protected this cool-headedness.
Önce yardımları ayrıştırdık.
First, we separated the help.
Ve buraya gelen herkesin bildiği en iyi işi yapmasını istedik.
And we wanted people to do the work that they were best at when they arrived here.
Biz burada devletin yardımları, devlet kurumu, burası bir devlet kurumu ve devlet buradaydı ve devlet yavaş yavaş kendisi işi yapamadığını anlayınca geri çekildi.
This is actually a government branch, but when the government understood that they couldn't do this on their own, they backed out.
Ondan sonra yemek paketleme makineleri aldık. Çünkü mesafeler çok uzaktı, 8 ilçe ve 120 noktada yemek dağıtır duruma geldik.
And then we purchased food packaging technology, and then we provided these nearby cities.
120 nokta.
at 120 distribution points.
Çok iyi bir lojistik ekibi kurduk.
We built a really good logistics team,
Motosiklet kuryeler.
couriers with motorcycles.
Hepsi gönüllüydü. Ama sadece iyi yönlendirmek gerekiyordu.
They were all volunteers, but they just needed to be directioned in the right way.
Sonra baktık ki yardımlar da gelmeye başladı ve bir paketleme ünitesi kurup yardımları daha küçük hale getirip onları da ihtiyaç sahiplerine dağıtmaya başladık.
And then as the help kept coming, we built a packaging unit and then we started distributing them.
Ve büyük yemek paketleme makineleri.
And the big food packaging machines.
Herkese temiz bir şekilde ve hijyenik bir şekilde yemeği göndermemiz lazımdı.
We needed to send the food as cleanly as possible to everyone.
Tabii en başta burada su ve kanalizasyon birbirine çok karışmıştı.
At first, the food and the canalization system here were really mixed up with each other.
Mutfağa 2 tane 10'ar tonluk su deposu kurdurduk.
We built 10 tons water storage kitchen.
Ve temiz suyu o suyu filtre ederek kullanmaya başladık.
And we started using that water by filtering it for it to be clean.
Su çok önemliydi. Su firmalarıyla çalışıp burada herkese su gönderebilme şansımız oldu.
Water was really important, so we collaborated with water companies and we were able to send water to people here.
Yavaş yavaş sisteme oturup burası gerçekten bir fabrikaya döndü.
As the system settled here slowly, this place turned into a factory.
100 yıl önce
100 years ago,
Turkey büyük bir kurtuluş savaşı yaşadı ve sonra Türkiye Cumhuriyeti kuruldu.
had a big war of independence and then the Turkish Republic was established.
Ve o kurtuluş savaşı esnasında herkes birlikte çalıştı.
And during that independence war, everyone worked together.
Bu onun bir tekrarıydı sanki.
This felt almost like a repetition of that.
Hala devam ediyoruz.
We're still going on.
30 Nisan'da bir öğretmen, okullar yıkılmıştı ve eğitimler çadırlarda yapılıyor.
The schools had demolished and a teacher on 30th of April.
Bir öğretmen bize yazı yazdı. Çocuklar okula aç geliyor, bir şey yapabilir misiniz diye.
This teacher wrote to us because the schools had collapsed. The kids are arriving at school hungry. Can you do something?
Çocuklar çünkü gönderdiğimiz yemeklerin hepsini yiyemiyorlar.
Because the kids cannot eat all the food that we send.
Ve onlar için kahvaltı hazırlamaya başladık.
So we started preparing breakfast for them.
Hatay genelinde 14.000 çocuğa her gün paketli kahvaltısını ulaştırdık.
In Hatay, we provided food for 14,000 kids every day.
Ve 16 Haziran'a kadar bu işi devam ettirdik.
And we carried
Okullar kapanana kadar.
And we carried this on until 16th of June, until schools had closed down.
İnsanlarla çok iyi bağlantı. Burada insanların çoğu gitti ama geri gelmeleri için çaba gösteriyoruz şu anda.
Some people have left, but we're trying to make them come back.
Birçok şef arkadaşım 2. haftadan sonra sahadan çıktılar.
Many of my chef friends have left the field after 2 weeks.
Bu fotoğraf çekmek için bir organizasyon değildi.
This wasn't an organization to capture photos.
Bunun için çok kırgınım hepsine.
I'm very upset at all of them for this.
Belki kendi taraflarında haklı olabilirler.
Maybe they were right on their own side.
Ama buradaki durum daha bir süre daha devam edecek. Çok uzun süre devam edecek.
But the situation here will continue for a long time.
Biz burada sadece yemek yapmıyoruz.
We don't just cook here.
Ben ilk şunu hissettim. Depremden herkes, buradaki yaşayan yerel halk kaçtı.
At first I felt this. Everyone ran away after the earthquake.
Ama bizim burada varlığımız herkese cesaret veriyor şimdi.
But our persistence here gives courage to everyone else around us.
İnsanlar yavaş yavaş dönmeye başladılar.
People have started coming back.
Birçoğu mutfakta çalışmaya başladı.
Most of them started working at the kitchen.
Herkes şunu söyledi. Biz deprem zamanı ölen arkadaşlarımız için hiçbir şey yapamadık.
Everyone told us we weren't able to do anything for our friends who passed after the earthquake.
Ama şimdi sizin sayenizde biz onlar için bir şey yaptığımızı hissediyoruz ve bütün gün burada çalışıyorlar.
But now, thanks to you, we feel that we do something for them here and they all work here every day.
24 saat çalışıyoruz.
We work 24 hours
İki vardiyalı olarak.
in 2 shifts.
Belki evinde kahvaltı hazırlamayan, gecenin saat 3'ünde yemek yapmayan insanlar burada onu her şeyi yapıyorlar.
Even people who wouldn't prepare breakfast at their house cook here at 3 a.m. and they do this.
O yüzden burada tekrar söylemek lazım. Yemek sadece karın doyurmak için değil.
So we should repeat this here. Food is not just to fill your stomach.
Buradaki insanların ruhunu doyurmak ve onlara bir sebep yaratmak için bir araç aslında. Burada yaşamak için bir sebep olmuştu.
But it's a tool to nourish people's foods and also give them a reason to stay and live in this area.
Söyleyecek çok şey var.
There are a lot of things to say.
Hala burada devam etmek için yollar arıyoruz.
We're still looking for ways to continue working here.
Ve biz burada insanların çok özel geleneklerine ve ritüellerine, yaptığı her şeye çok birlikte onları herkesi bir araya getirmeye çalışıyoruz.
And here we respect people's traditions and rituals and we try to bring them all together.
Onların özel günlerini unutmadık. Kutlama yemeklerini yaptık, anma yemeklerini yaptık.
We haven't forgotten about their special days. We've done their celebration meals and meals for their special events.
Ve devam edeceğiz. Burada şimdi bundan sonraki planımız Eylül ve Ekim. Eylül gelecek eğitim öğretim yılında. Okullar yapılır mı bilmiyorum ama biz Eylül ve Haziran ayı içerisinde önümüzdeki yılda çocukların 36.000 çocuğun okul kahvaltısını her gün hazırlamak için burada bir mutfak kuruyoruz şimdi.
And what we're doing here now is we're building a kitchen that will provide food to thousands of school kids between September and June next year.
Bu işin kaynağında yemek var.
Food is the source of all this.
Ama
but
soğukkanlı olmak zorundasınız.
You need to be cool-headed.
Yaşadığınız ne olursa olsun.
Whatever you go through.
Ve iyi plan yapmak zorundasınız.
And you need to plan really well.
Birilerinin ayaklarının yere basması gerekiyor.
Someone needs their foot stood in the ground. That's all.
Thank you for that in-depth account. I'm sure there are many people that are hearing a lot of this for the first time because, you know, what we hear on social media and in the media cannot come close to what you just narrated for us. And I really thank you for that. And I thank you for your courage in doing the work that you're doing. So over to you, Chef Adi. Please tell us what drove you to act in the face of an emergency, and also if you could tell us about what kind of system did you build, or what kind of system or project did you build that helped you to, you know, to continue to work in these different emergency situations, and anything else that may have helped you, be it a collaboration and a partnership. Over to you.
Okay, so we started this this NGO with my wife and with our partner Laura. She's basically family. So we started as an activity for our hearts and for the heart of our family. We are both doers, which is quite a strong combination. Also, we are both creative people, which not necessarily excludes arithmetics or mathematics, but in this case, it does. So for us, doing things comes first, and worrying about how we do and what we pay with comes only second. It was the case, same case basically when the pandemic started. So our story is like this. We had our restaurant in Bucharest, we had our catering business here in Bucharest, and when the pandemic started, we had to close the restaurant, as all the other restaurant owners around the country and so many others around the world. So some people, some restaurants managed to organize food delivery as a business. We didn't do that because it's not our food delivery, as you know it today, is not our business, and we are not even attracted to it. But we didn't want to send our staff home and just give them the leave and the help from the state, which is quite a poor help, and was quite a poor help. And people didn't get it in time and so on. And we are really, really attached all the time with our staff, with the people that are working with us. We treat everybody as our own family. And we came with, since we have, let's say, different sources of income, because we are doing so many other stuff, we said, look, if you want to come and work with us in a social canteen, until it's necessary, because we didn't know at the beginning of the pandemic how this is going to last and what we will all do. you are welcome to come. You will get your full pay. We will pay you from our different businesses, but you have to do this social work. Some people wanted to come, some people didn't want to come because they were afraid. They wanted to stay home. They wanted to be with their families in those times. We did not judge that. We just accepted as it was. But we started doing this. Many other chefs all over Romania and a lot of chefs in Bucharest started to distribute food to hospitals mainly because it was a huge necessity. So many doctors, so many medical staff were working around the clock at the beginning of the pandemics. And restaurants that were closing at the time, they just had food in stock. They had to do something with it and they started to share it. But we thought, okay, we need to scale this up a little bit because we cannot just work with our staff in some small place and that's it. And we just started to send this message to the world, to the community. Look, we are here, we are doing this. If you want to join us, we can grow this activity together. Let's do it. And we started to operate a social kitchen owned by the state, one of the state organizations. We just went to them and said, look, we want to do this. We know how to do it, but we need a kitchen to work in because our restaurant kitchen was not suited for that. They said, okay, we give you the kitchen, we give you part of our staff, but also we want from you to feed our beneficiaries, meaning socially assisted people that were sick and in impossibility of leaving home and so on. And we said, okay, let's see how many are they. And it turned out they were quite a few, and the people we need to feed every day were quite a few. And we just started to reach out to our contacts, to our business contacts, to our business partners, and just asking for help. And we got a lot of help, a lot of ingredients from private people, from small producers, from bigger companies. We started working with the food bank of Bucharest that is collecting food from supermarkets. Basically, just before the date of expiring, they collect the food and they distribute it to this kind of chains of beneficiaries. And now we are one of the beneficiaries of the food bank of Bucharest. And this is how we started. Basically, we just gathered food and supplies and turned them into cooked food, hot meals. And slowly, especially at the beginning of the pandemics, where it was a huge emotion wave, we started also to receive money donations. And with these money donations, we were able to hire some staff, and we were able to pay for things that we did not get for free, like, I don't know, so many articles for packaging that are, some of them are expensive or were expensive in those times because the request was so high. And we just started documenting every step, whatever we did, we wrote and tried to understand how to make it better, how to construct it into a more sustainable process, how to make less effort, how to make less steps, and so on. And this, let's say, handbook, we just started to share it for free with whoever wanted around the country to use it. And many people started doing that. And after that, I mean, basically the pandemic ended at the start of the Ukraine war, which is on the Romanian east border. We were still in action mode, let's say. When the war started, we didn't need too much time to decide that we want to participate in food relief for the refugees, because so many refugees started to come to Romania, some of them just to cross the country, to going west, many of them staying in the country for 1 day, 2 days, 1 week, 3 weeks. We still have Ukrainian refugees here in Romania even now. Many of them are integrated already in the Romanian society. Many of them still receiving help from the state or from the private organizations. But in those days, meaning for 3 months or so, it was a situation of emergency, millions of people coming through the Romanian border. So we just took action, and basically through Social Gastronomy Movement, we managed to get contact with Cuisine Sans Frontières from Switzerland and with World Central Kitchen, Chef Jose Andres' organization. And with their support, we just started to make food for these people. We immediately opened 12 kitchens around the country and along the border. And together with my colleague, Dennis, who is not here now, but he's basically in charge with our social canteens, all of them, we started to travel all over Romania. Basically, we drove around 10,000 kilometers in 3 months because we were moving around the country and cross country just to visit this kitchen, just to ensure people that we are together with them, that we are working together, and we are not letting them just to be blown by the wind and so on. And in the same time, just talking with sponsors, with organizations, with donors, with people that needed something urgently. Dennis, also my colleague, he's speaking Russian and Ukrainian, and he basically became a translator for so many cases, for so many refugees. I mean, hundreds of them that were in urgent need of something, and this is how we did it. And of course, we are documenting everything that we do. We are writing, we are making photos, we are filming everything that we do, because we really need to spend time in rewinding, rewatching, restudying whatever we did in order to understand it better and to be able to build systems that can function in bigger scales. And for this also, we are studying international organizations that are working with many people that are working in many countries and have a huge background and many years of previous experience.
All right, I'm coming back. Thank you so much. Adi, this is awesome. You actually walked us through two of the emergency responses you and your organization and network have gone through, which is awesome to see. And also what impresses me with both groups, actually, both Chef Ebru and Chef Adi, with both your responses, it was done very quickly. I think what's absolutely impressive is that you could mobilize through your connections and collaborations and just be at the front lines right away. So thank you for both your responses to very different emergencies. Let us go to speaking a little bit more about challenges and some advice, because we do these sessions as well there's so many potential entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs that are already working in different areas, but it wants to obviously learn with others and improve what they're doing at other best practices. And so if you could just go a little bit deeper on, first of all, the key challenges that you face and how you solve them. And then secondly, if there is advice for someone that either wants to help their communities or needs to, because we know that emergencies are on the rise, and therefore learning from you two is something super powerful. And so if you could again talk to the how you solve them and the advice you would give someone that will need to respond to anything, natural or human-made disaster in their own communities, how they can mobilize quickly. And should we start with Chef Adi while we're doing the translation? I think Adi, then you go ahead. And then Ebru, if we can follow that would be wonderful.
Okay, so one of the most important things that we had here and we have is our network. In order to be able to respond quickly to whatever is needed, it's really important to have a strong telephone agenda and a strong, let's say, email list. But telephone agenda is even more important than the email list, because the people you can call, you speak directly with them, mouth to ear and heart to heart. This it works quicker than an email every time, and also an email gives you the chance to change your mind quite a lot. But when you're speaking directly to people about your needs and about what you want to do, people respond quickly and most of the time positively. And if it's not positive for that moment, at least you can ask for further help really quick. So, but this is something that you do in time. So if I may give you an advice, if you don't have a strong agenda, start working on that now. Meet people, talk to people, participate in things, and don't be shy. Don't be shy to ask, because when it's an emergency, you hardly ask for yourself. You mostly ask in order to help others. This is, let's say, this is the short answer. Build a strong telephone agenda and don't be afraid to use it. This is going to help you go a really long way. And in terms of, let's say, challenges that we had during the pandemic and also during the Ukraine war emergency, we had quite a few, a bit different, but mostly the same. People that cannot eat some certain stuff, and you have to cater for their personal needs, which is quite a challenge when you have to do thousands and thousands and thousands of portions of food with limited resources. Then there is another challenge in maintaining the interest and the stamina and the involvement of volunteers, because for you as a person that started, let's say, as some kind of a movement, it's important. It comes from within and you have a really strong drive that can take you a long time. But for people that volunteer for a cause from time to time or for a short time, usually it's an emotional response to some social need. People come, they participate, but they get tired faster or quicker than you. And then you have to be able to, let's say, manage people's emotions. You have to be able to manage people's time. You have to be able to manipulate, in a good sense, the energy in a space. I don't know, with whatever is necessary, from loud music to laughter to jokes to whatever floats your boat, whatever can take you through a period of stall energy, or a period when the energy is down. So, but this, I don't know, this is a skill or a set of skills that you develop only by doing and making things wrong from time to time, and apologizing a lot, and being harsh sometimes if it's needed, or just, I don't know, whatever kind of leadership you are able to provide.
Thank you so much, Adi. That was actually very practical advice on from energy to how to actually start in activating your network in very practical ways. So thank you. This was very helpful.
Thank you.
Ebru, to you, same question. If you could talk a little bit more about the challenges you faced that you overcame, and practical advice, because I think there's no right or wrong, but I think the two of you have loads to share.
Okay. Sorry. Aslında Şef Edi'ye ben de katılıyorum. Aynı fikirdeyim, çünkü güçlü bir network'ünüzün, böyle bir durumda güçlü bir network'ünüzün, güçlü bir telefon ağınızın olması gerekiyor.
I actually agree with Chef Ali, because in a case like this, you need a strong network, a strong list of phone numbers.
Ben 23 yıldır insanların hayatlarını değiştirecek birçok proje yaptım.
I've done a lot of projects in 23 years to change people's lives.
Ben şunu fark ettim ki bu depremde fark ettim, çok insan biriktirmişim.
What I realized was in this earthquake that I collected a lot of people in this time.
En önemlisi güven biriktirmişim.
And most importantly, I collected trust.
İnsanlar her şeyi en iyi yapabileceğime inanıyorlar.
People believe that I can deliver the best.
Bu paha biçilmez bir durum.
That's an immeasurable situation.
Biraz önce aslında neler yapılabileceğini söylemiştim. Ne tavsiyede? Önce tavsiyede bulunmak gerekiyor. Biraz önce dediğim gibi güçlü bir network'ünüzü oluşturmak zorundasınız. Yaptığınız işi doğru anlatmak zorundasınız. Bu sadece acil durum zamanında değil ama bütün hayatınız boyunca yaptığınız işleri, çünkü biz sonuç olarak sadece yemek yapmıyoruz. Kendimiz bireysel bir hayat yaşamıyoruz. Dolayısıyla yapmış olduğumuz işi doğru anlatmak zorundayız.
So I would like to say some advices. Apart from having a strong network, you need to communicate what you do in a really good way.
O yüzden ben network'ü çok iyi kullandım, onu kullandım.
So I've used my network really well.
Ama biraz önce de söylediğim gibi soğukkanlı olmak gerekiyor.
But as I mentioned earlier, you need to be cool-headed.
Ve doğru plan yapmak zorundasınız.
And you need to plan right.
Ve 5 adım sonrasını düşünerek hareket etmek zorundasınız.
And move thinking 5 steps ahead.
Zorluklar nedir? Zaten durumun tamamen içerisinde, hani deprem için konuşuyorsak durum tamamen çok büyük bir zorluktu zaten.
Well, if we're talking about challenges, the earthquake itself was a big challenge.
Burada bizim Türkiye'de durum biraz daha farklı sanırım.
In Turkey, the situation I think is a bit different.
Gönüllüler ve bağışlarla kurduğumuz sistem mükemmel bir şekilde işlemeye başladı.
The system we built on volunteers and donations started working perfectly.
Ama işiniz ne kadar başarılı olursa birilerinden rol çalıyorsunuz.
But however successful your work is, you steal the role from someone else.
Biz herhalde rol çaldık.
And I think we stole the role a bit.
Çünkü biz şu anda en büyük derdimiz devlete devlet olmadığımıza inandırmaya çalışıyoruz.
Because currently our biggest problem is trying to make the government believe that we're not the government.
Çünkü her şeyi bizim yapmamızı bekliyorlar.
Because they expect us to do everything.
Ama hiçbir katkıda bulunmadan.
But without providing any support themselves.
Fakat her şeye rağmen.
But despite everything.
Yine devletle birlikte çalışmak.
Still working with the government.
Herkesin desteğini almak.
Getting the support of everyone.
Ve yaptığınız işin bilincinde olmak.
And being aware of the work you're doing.
Ve bunun sadece kısa bir süre için değil, sonuna kadar götürmek en önemlisi bence.
And taking this not for only a short time, but until the end is really important.
İnsanların size ihtiyacı olmadığı ana kadar, yani sizden şuna inanmanız lazım. Yaptığınız işin ne kadar sürdürülebilir olduğuna inanmanız sadece insanların ihtiyaçları bitene kadar olmalı. Yani ihtiyaçlar bittiği anda sizin işiniz bitmeli.
Your work should end when people's need for you ends.
Zaten her şeyi çok açık bir şekilde anlattık. Ben de Şef Edi de anlattı. Dediğim gibi kısaca bunlar bu kadar.
Both me and Chef Ali explained these really briefly, and this is very briefly the case.
Thank you so very much for those insights. I've learned a lot, and like I mentioned earlier, this, what you have taught us today is a lot of information that we normally wouldn't know about. People just want to give us what's on the surface, but you've really gone in depth with us. You've taken us through the journey of emergency response and your planning, and I really thank you for that. So to wrap up, I'll just go over some of the advice that you've given, which I think is very important and is very practical, talking about building a strong network and building trust with that network and with other stakeholders involved, as well as communicating what you do well. Planning ahead came up as well, And also, I think very important is committing to the work that you're doing, making sure that, as Chef Ibru said, your work ends when people's need for you ends. So that's very important to note, I think. So we have come to the end of our session. We are now going into the Q&A. So thank you so much for joining us for this 1 hour. And please feel free to stay for the Q&A in case you have any questions and clarifications that you need. But we end our recorded session.